we go slow anyway, so one way or the other, not hard to catch up. All right, so we are into the principle of Binah being Malchus de Le'ela. As the Zohar says, Olam Ha'elyin. Ama Lo and Ama Tato is from Malchus. Because Binah is the beginning of Olam. And because they say that Hishtalshelus begins from Binah, not from Chochmah. Although that Chochmah and Binah are together, the sword, the mokir for Zoh, but Chochmah is called mokir arochik, and Binah is mokir sheresh mokir mokir hakorif. So we started discussing this principle of mokir harochik and mokir hakorif. Mokir harochik is a kind of a facilitator. It enables. Mokir hakorif actually provides for the inspiration, for the content. And we spoke this morning, I think it's brief, but it's sufficient to know that a mokir is imperative. Without a mokir, there is not a metzius. The mokir is what gives it a reality, gives it a right of being, and then there's mokir hakorif, mokir harochik, mokir hakorif. Now, the principle of mokir hakorif, this is a little bit more difficult to really recognize and realize. The principle of mokir hakorif is, if we had this morning the mashal for Chochmah, that Chochmah is like the open field providing unlimited space and resource. Mokir hakorif means that the actual thing that ultimately populates this space draws from this mokir. In other words, there's a fundamental difference in saying that this provides a space, but what you build there comes from elsewhere. Or you say that what you build there is actually something which is initiated from the mokir. It's as if you would say, I come to this space area, and I saw, it demands that there be a tree over here. It demands that here be a house. Which means mokir hakorif. How is that? Where does this mokir get these things that populate the area? So we'll touch upon this briefly, and as this thing develops, we'll get a full sense of it. hopefully we'll get a full sense of it. We'll try our best to be as clear as possible. Not long ago, we spoke on the principle of Odom shein lebayis einei Odom, which is a very powerful expose of what's going on. He's a human being. With his seichel and midas and everything. But if ein loy bayis, ein yod. Does that mean doesn't have seichel? No. Does that mean he is not living? No. He's got all his limbs and all his faculties. But the principle of being an Odom is totally missing. What does that mean? Again, we'll beat around the bush a little bit. All of these koiches that a person has, and the seichel and the midas, can be used to simply sustain and serve the person himself. He needs to make a living, for example. So he uses his seichel to make a living. He uses his hands to work, his feet to get to work. All of these things, this is all for subsistence. This is not an Odom. Odom is not one who sustains himself. Odom, the real truth is, Odom should not have any concern about self-sustenance. It's completely provided for by his Creator, because he has a Creator's mission to accomplish in this world, to bring the spirit of the Creator here. He can't be preoccupied with self-support. That's what the Mishnah said, the Gemara says. Kulam le'nivra el shamsheni, v'alila nivreisi el shamesh eskoin. I wasn't created to support myself, to build businesses. Support l'shamesh eskoin, and therefore I should have my parnasa without any concerns. Beis HaMelech. That's the way it should be. But at the mission's finished, because I deviated from the path that Hashem has set for me, and that's where I kipachti parnasos, I ruined my parnos. And as soon as I straighten out that path, the parnos will be restored. That's how the Mishnah said. Because that's what a human being is. We spoke about this many, many times. A human being is here to represent his Creator, not to build himself up. Therefore, he can have all his koiches and any Odom. He's not really a Odom. He doesn't represent the principle of on that level, lahavel, he's like the animal also. The animals also have their koiches. They also go hunting and eating. The fact that Odom is a little more sophisticated in hunting than the animal, that is not what defines him as an Odom. Beis, what does Beis do? Why is Beis making it an Odom? This will be explained, because Beis means, pardon me, that he has a set place, meaning to say, we discussed this, I just want to go briefly. It means that he really is a full-fledged presence in the world, that's what the Beis. He's not a novenad. He doesn't float around. He's not just here where his food is. He's here, he occupies a certain place in the world, And from this place he builds the world. Was made Beis. In order to influence any environment, you come to a community. You come to a community, and you want to influence the community. You want to tell them what they should do. They tell them the first thing: who are you? Are you a member? Do you live here? You have no business giving us any criticism, any directions. You don't even know what's going on over here. You don't even have a feel for the community. When I was in Adar, in the Vad HaKol for close to 10 years, the people would come from Israel. Those are the smart, they are all wise people. Wherever they would come, and they would say, there is a Yiddish saying, a gast of a while, zet of a mile. That a guest who comes for a moment, he sees a mile, he sees much further than the local resident. He sees for a mile. So I said to him, he told me very simple, I said, look, a gast of a while sees a mile, but he doesn't see what's in front of his nose. Doesn't really know what's going on. Looks a mile away, he sees something. But what's in front of his nose, he really doesn't know. Who sees what's going on a daily basis? One who lives there, who is a member in the community. So this is just a kind of an illustration of the principle Odom Shein Beis in the Odom. You don't really, you can influence the community, but that's superficial. To really have an influence in the world, you have to be a member in the world. Take on responsibility, and as the mission says, he carries the oil im chaveiro. He carries the whole yoke and the burden of responsibility together with others. That's them. That's the pshat. Odom yesh Beis. And then he's a full-fledged member here. Now he can start influencing the community. How is he going to influence the community? Practically speaking. Yes, it is coming from his house. Like we said, a house is not going to be a barren house, a house. In the house is going to have furniture. It's going to have utensils. It's going to have all the various facilitators that enable him to act and do things. These things that populate the house, these are the means by which he's going to influence and to accomplish his mission. So, yes, it is based in the house. Without a house, he can have all of these things. He's not going to be able to accomplish anything. But then, after he has a house, he has to populate. What does the house allow you to do? The house allows me to learn, to teach, to write, to invite guests. These are all things that require all kinds of different facilities. Now, in the case of the house, it is quite clear, it's easy to envision that you can't have a table. You can invite guests to a table in the middle of the street. No, it's not, it doesn't belong there. A table, you have to have a dining room to put a table. In other words, the house, even though the house itself is a much broader, much greater reality than the furnishings that you put into it, but the furnishings that you put into it are derivatives, are exposing what this house is about. You have an empty room, and you put a dining room table. Oh yeah, this is a dining room. Before you put a dining room table, it was also a dining room, but you didn't see it. Now this exposes that this is a dining room, a bedroom, whatever it is, a kitchen. So, using this as the mashal, the concept of Chochmah and Binah, we can readily see that despite the fact, like we said before, that the house brings you into this community and it makes you a member and gives you the right to participate and say, you can't do anything until you actually identify what are the means by which you disseminate your information. And how do you disseminate information? You can't come and say, listen, I'm a member, I live here, listen to me now. Here is what I have to say. I think we should do this, I think we should do this. So the house only gives you the permission to speak up. This is called moker harochik. But what actually are you saying? Things that you've experienced, you identified in the community by being there, by with your seichel amidus. So this is a kind of a very simple and close to home illustration of the concept of Chochmah and Binah. Moker harochik, moker hakoref. You have to have moker harochik. But moker hakoref, that is the real effect. That's the guy who really gets involved. If you move into the community and you have a beautiful home and you stay behind closed doors, there's nothing that you can do. You're not doing accomplishing anything. And if you will come out once in a while and it will give you critique and give you aitza, without actively participating, you're not going to accomplish anything. The moker hakorev, this is the real influence. This is the guy that really relates to what's going on. Not like a gas sees for a mile. He looks what's going on, in front of his nose.
What in the mashal? What is the house? Is the makif harachik? What's the
moker harochik and moker hakorev and the various activities that take place in the house. Like I said, you depending what your activities are. If you're a rov, people will come to you for shilas. And in order to come to your shilas, you have to have a place to welcome them.
Isn't that the makif harachik?
No, makif harachik. This is the house itself. And I explained the house is the member in the community. But what you do in the house, this is koref. This is the Binah. This is when you actually involve yourself in the details of what's going on. When people come to the Rov with a shaila, they don't come to his house. They come to his dining room, to his office. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
You also said that it was a mashal for Chochmah and Binah, I don't exactly see the connection with what you said before.
Well, I explained. Chochmah.
Chochmah is the house and Binah is the furniture?
Yeah. Right.
I mean,
In our Nitzel, this is how we divide it. I mean, Kricha Chochmah, we all have to understand that the Nimshal is a much higher level than the mashal. But yes, that's what it is. Chochmah is the overall recognition. Yes, this is the community that I'm in. That's Chochmah. And what makes it community? That's a house. Simply to land here doesn't make you a member of the community. And then there is the Binah, that you get involved and you understand, okay, what's going on in the community. That goes after that you're a member. And then you begin to see, to feel the goings on. So this is like the Mokir HaKorev, Mokir HaRochik. So again, the Mokir HaRochik, even though it's paramount, and ultimately this is what enables everything, but in practical terms, it's only a facilitator. It allows you to get involved. And this allowance to get involved is very important. But it's a big merachik. Mokir HaKorev, that's the level where you actually understand and you know what's going on in the community in detail. This is the principle of a melech, of malchus. Malchus, in Chochmah and Binah, Malchus is the Binah. And here is the correlationship. Okay, I'm going to go, this is going to be a little bit more subtle. Okay, now that you're a member in the community, you have various things, you have your skills, you can do this, you can do this, you can give guidance, you can ask for guidance, all kinds of different things. What we have to remember is like this. Okay, the point which I want to bring out is true that there is Chochmah and Binah, but once Binah is in place, Binah functions on its own. I want that we should realize it's not true. Binah is always functioning with the background, with the basis of Chochmah. Chochmah is always a facilitator, even after Binah, even after you have your furnishings. There's a tremendous importance for that the furnishing is in a home, and that you live in this home. Even though your actual influence is through the furnishings and through your actual communication. This is the great phenomenon of Binah. It has a very rich spread. It is in full cognizance of what Chochmah is. And yet, close the door. It's in full cognizance of what, no, not that one, this is the inside door. It's in full cognizance of what Chochmah is, but it brings it down to a much more definitive level. And while it is in a definitive level, it is still cognizant of the Chochmah. Which means, as we said, yes, I'm speaking to you because I see that this has to be corrected. But on what basis am I speaking to you? I'm a member in the community. I live here. And I really want to the betterment and the good of every member of the community. This is where Binah, the richness of Binah is seen. Chochmah is rochik, it's mokir rochik. It doesn't get involved in the matter. Binah gets involved in the matter, but it doesn't lose sight of the upper, of the Chochmah. That's a special quality of Binah. And this is what Malchus is. Melech is a phenomenal thing. On the one hand, he's meruma miyam. On the other hand, he is mashpia to every individual. And to everything that's going on in the country. He is the one who makes the country into a country. With all its details and all its functions. That's what Melech. Like we said this morning, Melech Shmoi Nikru Aleim. His name is applied to them. To whom? To every individual and to every last bench in the park, to every last tree in the forest. Everything. The Torah says, the Torah says, you're not allowed to destroy a living tree. To destroy anything is forbidden. Why? Who cares? There is a chshivas to everything in the country, because everything gets its chshivas and its status from the Melech. Surely, under certain circumstances, it's not unpermitted; it's required. But generally speaking, everything has to be respected. The Melech has influence in everything. He gives everything a status, a position. This is the
Paltiel?
Let me finish just saying, yes. This is the principle of Binah being called a Melech. And this is what the Zohar calls the upper world, Alma Yullah. We will still need to sweat to understand the difference between Alma Yullah and Alma Tator, but this gives us a sense. Why is it an Alma? Where is the world element in this? There's a whole world in Binah. Even though Binah is completely influenced in totality from the Chochmah. Here is an important, again, it's a subtle thing, but I think we should be able to see it. We speak about this all the time. Even this morning I mentioned, pardon me, it's a total fallacy. It's an error to perceive things in the world as reactive. In other words, there's something in the world, the practical world demands a certain things, and this is how it came about to be. like we speak recently a lot. That's an example what comes to mind. A car was not conceived when the motor was developed. You know, we can make something right. Let's make it right. No, a car was conceived thousands of years ago. A human being came to the world, and they perceived that yes, I have to get across the world. Whether it's a car, a boat, or a horse and wagon, makes no difference. That's the essence of the car, the movement, the getting around. People used to cover thousands of miles with the camels going across the deserts. So this is the the principle of the Binah being a world. Where does Binah get its perception that there is a whole world over here? It gets its perception from the reality and the truth of the Chochmah. This Chochmah is of such richness, of such greatness. There's a whole world that you can develop from it. That's the Binah. But it's not that Binah encountered a problem in the world and says, oh, let's solve it this way. No, Binah creates the world. Why? In order to expose and show the richness of the Chochmah. This is the principle of Binah, of Malchus. I'm sorry, who was asking a question? I stopped you. Please come back. Ask your question.
That was Baruch.
Yes, sir, Baruch.
Okay, so the question is, maybe I'm missing something here. The question is, what Binah is the Malchus, right?
Right.
And
Malchus
Chochmah is, I'm sorry, Chochmah is facilitating.
Right.
Who's facilitating? Chochmah?
Chochmah.
That's the house.
Right.
So in concept, if Malchus is Binah, is the house, what is above Malchus?
No. The house is Chochmah.
I'm sorry. Okay, right. If the Malchus is what's in the house, what's going on in the house?
Yeah, what the house provides for. Right, exactly right.
So what is it that we say is above this? Is not in the house, but in respect to Malchus. Malchus is what's getting involved in everything and caring about every tree and every park bench and so on. And what is it that's above Malchus? That's
the Chochmah. That's what you said, no? Chochmah and Binah.
But I'm saying in real the Chochmah, yes. But if we call Binah Malchus, Binah is Malchus.
Okay, right.
So
One second, Boris. You may have missed something before.
I may well have.
Is called Melech Ilo'o, the upper Melech.
So Chochmah is also Malchus? Is also the Melech?
No. The Malchus is in Binah, but which Malchus? Malchus Ilo'o. Just like in Melech Tato, there is Malchus and there is Zoh. Zoh feeds into Malchus, and that becomes Melech Tato.
And Chochmah?
And the Chochmah Chochmah Binah is, Chochmah feeds into Melech Ilo'o, the upper Malchus.
Chochmah is the Melech Ilo'o.
No. Malchus is the Melech Ilo'o. Chochmah feeds.
Binah is the Melech.
And Binah is the Melech Ilo'o.
Binah is the Melech Ilo'o. So I'm still trying to understand what's above this Melech Ilo'o.
Chochmah.
Chochmah. Okay. I'm not getting it. Maybe I'm the only one who's not getting it. But I'm not getting it.
Were you able
not sure what you can do for me if I'm not getting it.
I can remind you of the shiurim we had in the last 3 days. I don't know how much you were able to follow those.
have to go back and do remedial work.
Yes, and anything that you need clarification, please give me a call. This is what we were learning for those 2 days, so especially the unit from Binah, how Binah is. What is the similarity between Binah and Malchus? All of a sudden, Binah is Malchus, right here in the minor.
I just, so
Okay.
I mean, Chris, I remember we spoke that Ratzon, I am everywhere. Chochmah, I should be everywhere. And Binah is, this is how I get everywhere. My understanding is that Binah is like a Yislapshus.
Yeah,
But Malchus is not Yislapshus.
it is. Melech Shmoy Nikra Aleim.
But it's Shmoy Nikralim. It's not
That's
Misar to the
Yislapshus.
prop.
The Melech allows himself, his name to be carried through all his subjects.
But the Hashpa Bina is not just Hashpa of Shmoy. It's the Teuchen. It takes out of Chochmah Teuchen that's Lifioif in the Mekabel.
No.
But Malchus it's Shmoy
But
Nikralim.
wait a second. Bina, that's what I said just now before. We'll still have the challenge to understand the difference between Melech Eloah and Melech Tator. And this is what we started now. Melech Eloah is not accommodating to the Makabel. Melech Eloah is making it, is creating that which can be given. Makabel is on the Malchus side. Malchus actually accommodates to the Makabel. Recognizes that the Makabel must be mashpia externally. Binah is not mashpia externally. Binah is still on the inside, an internal perspective. But on the internal, there is a whole melucha. I said, as time goes on, we'll have even a clearer sense. Okay, the important thing that the last point that we made is important. That Bina, like we just now explained, Bina does not create the melucha in response to a makabel. Bina creates a melucha by recognizing the richness and greatness of Chochmah and wants to expose it all. So that all of the houses, and all the trees, and all the benches come to expose the Chochmah, the reality of the Chochmah, rather than to enable a visitor. Do we get the point?
This is the outside. This is the outside.
This is on the inside.
But it's outside on the inside. It's to take what's Chochmah and expose
You're taking the Chochmah and exposing it. Exposing it where?
That's the outside.
Bina is to see what I have. That's internal. To see what I have is already an external because I'm looking at it. But still, it is looking from as an insider. So this is where Bina gets this title of being Melech, Malachas. Because the principle of Melech, as we shall see ultimately, the principle of Melech is that the Melech gives chayes and gives status, gives a presence to the entire country, every aspect of the country. Like we said, you're not allowed to destroy a tree, a fern tree you're not allowed to destroy. Just for the purpose of destruction. Because it's part of the melucha. Like the Rebbe gave the example of the tobacco box, the, what do you call it, the sniff box that the Rebbe had. You wouldn't break it. Why break it? You can do anything you want. If it's useful to you, sure. But to break it, what for? Okay? All right. So now let us pursue further. Okay, so we are about 4 or 5 lines below the middle of the page, Nun Hey. The line begins kuli. Okay? You take your pick which kuli you want.
Two kulis.
There are many. Kumei derech mashal. Kumei derech mashal. Where he's going to explain the Ayin of Chochmah and Binah.
It's beneath where we started yesterday.
What?
It's beneath where we started this morning.
No.
This morning we started with Malchus.
Yeah. Kuli, the Pirush Melech Le'ela. Now we are way ahead. Derech mashal, as for example, is havos hamidas min hasech. What the Rebbe is going to explain now is the principle why Binah is called Mokir HaKorev, not Chochmah. Although Chochmah and Binah are both instrumental in creating and building Zoh. Zoh means midas. What we're saying, true, they're both instrumental, but Chochmah is at a distance, is a distant influencer, and Binah is closer, is a direct effect. Of the in creating it. Derech mashal is havos hamidas min hasech. We try to understand how midas come to be and created from the seichel. This principle that midas are created from the seichel is mehasogo davko. It is the midas are created from the hasogo of seichel. Davko. Davko means emphatically. Not just by knowing and seeing the seichel, that will not create the midas. What will create the midas? When there is a full-fledged hasoga. Hasoga means a full grasp of the sinya. This is the midah element. That the hasoga davko. Hasoga davko. Sharei. Since that, minakud as hahaskolam. Nakud as hahaskolam means the point of the haskolam. What is the point of this whole thing? Not the means by which I grasp it. Hasoga is involved means a tangible means by which I grasp this seichel. Nakuda is just an insight. There's no grasp of the nakuda. The nakuda is not grasped to the extent that even if you have a spark and you have a clear view of the nakuda, an hour later you want to bring it back, you can't. You have to start all over again. You have nothing to hold on to. You can bring it back if you go back into the same as bonus and so forth. But in terms of a grasp, there's nothing. There's nothing there to grasp. That's what the Kudas Haskalah. I mean, the Kudas Haskalah will not come midas. Lo yizhavo adayin hamidos. The midas will not as yet. He is adayin. Midas will not as yet come to be. What is the implication of the word adayin? Extremely important. The implication of the word adayin, as we said before. What does Binah bring out? That which is contained in the Chochmah. And this is where Binah gets its information, gets its inspiration. It is from the Chochmah. And this is what we're saying. From the Nekudas HaAskola, from the Chochmah, lo yizhava adayin hamidas. Not that there isn't the element of midas contained therein. Binah gets it from the Chochmah. But it will not come to be creating the midas yet. Adayin means that yes, the essence of its presence, the remote source for it is existent, but it will not yet come to be created, come to happen. When will the midas be created in Poyam Mamash? Hasogas haseichel, from grasp of the seichel. All right, we'll try to get clarity in this. I'm going to take you a little bit in a different realm to understand the whole principle of midas coming from seichel and so forth. Okay. You were here already, right? Yeah. Okay, so you know where you are upstairs. Yeah. This goes the inside door. You just have to remember the following principles. Midos and seichel. On the one hand, they are entirely different worlds. almost akin to the difference between the seichel and the mashal dibur u'mais. We say like this. We say that after all is said and done, after you learned everything and you understand and you believe and you feel, to come to Maisi, you have to have Kabbalah soil. When you have Kabbalah soil, it should go in there, it should be a direct flow. And you have to say, no, Maisi requires another step. There is not a direct influence from the seichel to the mais. If you want to do the ma'aser, the Kabbalah soil, the seichel will give you direction how to do it. But the seichel is not going to force it, to create it. That you have to have a will which is Kabbalah soil. In general, one could say that there's a similar transition from seichel into midas. As Chassidus speaks all the time, that even after you understand that the seichel, you still have to be mizboinen and work directly on bringing out the midah, on arousing and awakening the midas. Which means that the seichel and midas are not a direct flow. They're not in the same realm. But because you believe in the seichel, you see that it's right, you can create, you force yourself to have the midah. This is a practical truth, but this is not the actual reality. Fortunately, we are in a world of hell and hester, and in order to influence, even for sure, but even midas, even an internal inclination, there has to be a direct focus on influence internal inclination. And without that, it's not going to happen. I always give this very simple illustration. You wake up in the morning and you are misboining. It's time to get up. You'll be very good if you get up. And it'll not be so good if you don't get up. Will this get you up? It doesn't work.
If you have Kabbalah soil, then all the seichel comes along with it. Then the midah is the seichel.
Okay, yeah. Well, I want to explain the full thing. Well, this is the way it is in our world. Okay, it's not. This is not the, so to speak, the absolute truth. The absolute truth is that seichel has the potential. Seichel itself has the potential to influence midas. But for that, one has to be quite, what's called refined.
Meaning automatic. That it should happen automatically.
Right. Quite refined. And he senses this is the right thing, and then automatically he goes and does the right thing.
Goes and does or senses?
Senses, and he is aroused to it, and this is what he wants, and then it comes to doing it. This is what we call, this is a very high madrege. But the high madrege does not mean that this is not a simple reality. It is a simple reality. But there are kinks in our mental, in our mind, in our thinking process that don't allow the straight flow of of the influence of the nefesh into action.
I just want to clarify because it seems to be that we're saying that the potentially seichel should be able to affect middays. It doesn't happen, so it's just because we have like whatever issues they are. But then before that you said that it's quite fine and well that you understand and you feel, but then to do it you still need Kabbalah's oil. Is that also because of some kind of?
Because there are obstacles.
But otherwise it should go straight.
Otherwise it goes straight.
So seichel
This
should.
is what the Rebbe explained. That seichel does influence midas. Forget something. But when seichel does influence midas, it is not the nekudas haskola. It is the hasoga dafka.
Not the Nakuda scholar, it's the Hasaga da.
No, nekudas haskola. This is the seichel. This is the chochmah. That will not create midas.
What will create midos?
Yes.
The haskola, the hasoga, the full comprehension.
The Binah?
Binah.
That's what he's misbinding on, the Hasaga?
Right, he's misbinding in the Chochmah. And from this Chochmah he draws a complete seichel and he comes to a point where he is masig the seichel. Not only he sees that's right, but he actually masig and he has full understanding. He has a full understanding. I don't want to confuse it. The full understanding of the Chochmah within this Hasaga.
And the middle surface from that?
Pardon me?
The middle surface from that?
And from this, this influences the midas, bring out the midas in the heart, in the nefesh. Explain this surface. This is what I wanted to explain. Why does seichel influence the midas? After all, seichel is in the mind, and midas are in the heart. Okay, so here's the thing. This whole introduction that we normally experience and midas and seichel are two separate things. And the seichel does not directly influence the midas. We have to go and have a special focus on the midas. The point of doing this is just to explain that this is the way it is in our experience. But what the Rebbe is speaking about is a completely different thing. He's speaking about the direct response of midas to the seichel. The seichel actually creates the midas. The hasaga of the seichel creates the midah. And now we are going to try to understand what that means. How does the seichel create the midah? You understand? This is how we came from the back door.
I missed the last twist. It's just... you were saying that the seichel... Why would you think seichel creates the midas? Because the seichel is in the mind and the midas are in the heart.
No. What you would think, you wouldn't think it. The Rebbe tells us this. But how is it? How does seichel influence midas? The Rebbe tells us seichel influences midas.
Mm-hmm.
Now we focus inside what's going on. How does seichel influence midas? When we approach this, we begin to understand that yes, there is an element that how seichel influences midas. That's what we are going to try to understand now. The point which I was making till now, please don't get confused, is this is going to be quite a challenging thing to understand because this is not confirmed by our own direct experience.
Why not?
Because by us, if you can be misbinding for 10 hours, I have to get up, and it doesn't get you up.
In other words, this is talking about a refined person.
This is talking about the true, right, the true human structure. We have other challenges. And eventually, with Nebish's help, who knows, each one of us is going to be refined. Who knows? But it's good to understand what is the human structure that the Rebbe made. So the Rebbe is explaining that Seichel mihava midas creates midas. The thing, the Ayin that the Seichel creates midas, this is not the Nekudas Haskol, it's not the Chochmah, it is the Hasoga Dafka. It is the Binah, the Hasoga Dafka that creates midas. And this is how far we were able to get to today.
Rabbi, what does get people to learn? Most people.
A sense of responsibility, my dear friends.
How do you develop that?
You have to develop it. You have to give yourself a kick. This is the human being. The human being who does not have a sense of responsibility, like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya from Zohar. Od l'sod v'nechoyin henish mochum v'atshimlei. To give himself a kick and says, "You idiot! What are you doing?" Alter Rebbe used the whole description. Ato manuvel, meshuketz. What are you doing to me?
But you're not thinking.
What?
You're not thinking. You're not aware. You're asleep.
No, you're not asleep. If you're asleep, you're not going to get up.
You're walking. You're the walking sleeping. You're sleepwalking.
But
You're sleepwalking.
Well,
the screaming yourself is
If you're
on the
running
basis that that's the real person, that there's a real mensch inside me.
that's right. And if you're sleepwalking, you have to give yourself
If you really don't want